and they have very large virtual conventions. So we're going to switch over to them. Hold on one second. We're trying something new tonight. So we're bringing them on in just a second on Facebook. Did we go unlive?
I think when we switch the counts, it undid on live.
We'll have to go relive again.
It says we're live now.
Okay. Well then, yeah, because you can exit out of the Facebook. We just need to bring the two presidents.
Can you guys see it now?
But if you're on headset, Reggie, I'm not going to be able to hear them talk to me.
Well,
Can I hear y'all now? This is a test run for tomorrow night, so y'all just bear with us a little bit.
try now.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now perfectly. And we can see you now too, so. All right, so welcome to Leadership Live. I'm super excited to have y'all.
Well, thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
How are things going in Minnesota, first off?
Good. Yeah, I think we're all kind of reeling from the COVID and recent events, but we're coming out of it strong and adaptable. It's really nice here. It's not snowing, so that's always a good day in Minnesota when there's no snow.
Things are starting to open back up.
Yep. We're at, I think, 50% capacity, and so in Minnesota, we have to, and I'm sure it's the same in Michigan, we have to close our patios for the winter because it gets like minus 50 here, and no one wants to sit on a patio in minus 50. So as they open the patios up, everyone is allowed to come and sit outside, of course, with social distancing rules. So that's pretty awesome. And then hair salons and nail salons are able to open up to 25%. So everything is kind of slowly getting back to, I guess, the new normal, as we would call it.
So the patio thing, super foreign to me because we sit on the patio in December and January. So President Sarah, what about Michigan? Y'all are reopening, I see, as well.
Yes, we got some great news last week that we are now allowed to have gatherings outside up to 100 people as long as we have social distancing. Our restaurants are being able to open to in-restaurant dining with limited capacities. We unfortunately do not have hair salons open yet. Some of us are really waiting for that to happen, but hopefully that'll happen soon. But yeah, we're opening back up, and it's really great because we also have had some nice weather. It was in the 90s yesterday, which was pretty awesome. So, but yeah, things are starting to get back to normal a little bit, but we still got some things going on to wait for, but yeah, starting to get a semblance of normalcy back after COVID.
Well, if your hair salon takes too much longer, I might come visit you and give you a haircut.
Well, and I should say, ours are open. That doesn't mean you can get in.
Right. Well, then I'll just come visit you both, and I'll cut everybody's hair.
Sounds good.
If you want bangs, I can only do bangs. And...
Oh.
So
I appreciate your offer.
I got really bored during 62 days of quarantine. I got really bored. So yeah, I did fail because one of the very first memes that I saw was, no matter how bored you get, don't cut your own bangs. I made it like 32 days.
Wow.
Pretty well.
That's still a lot of days.
Yeah, I did pretty well. So, but yeah, so we wanted to talk tonight a little bit about, because you both have extremely large scale conventions. And I know Michigan, you stretch yours out a whole entire month. And every weekend for that month, which I was there most of the weekends, if not all of them. But then Minnesota's doing theirs in a couple of weeks. So I just kind of wanted to give ideas to people, because I really do think that in the midst of this, we have learned some really good things that we can still bring to our members and to our membership when we come out of this, or as you said earlier, in our new normal. So I do feel like this could be something that we could possibly offer to our membership in the future, because not everybody can come to our members, so we can touch more members, or not everybody can come to our convention, so we can touch more members, even if we have to do it virtually.
Yeah, I think one of the hidden silver linings of the COVID stay home, stay safe, you can't actually get together, is that the excuse, well, we've always done it that way, and so that's why we have to keep doing it that way, wasn't a valid answer. We had to find new ways to do things because we couldn't rely on the ways we had done them. And it really created an environment for us to really be able to come up with new outside the box thinking and ways to accomplish things. And I think a lot of the things, especially in Michigan, that we learned doing our, what we called our virtual BOIN, because our first trimester leadership conference was supposed to be in Boyne Mountain. We engaged members that had never come to a physical conference before for whatever reason. They couldn't get the time off work, they couldn't afford it, they had children that they needed to have on the weekends, that they were able to participate in our trainings, we did every competition that is part of JCI USA's competition platform. We did every single professional skills competition virtually. We did single project entry judging with presentations virtually. We had a full day of training. We had I think 4 different membership statewide socials that happened. And we actually do have one more event left, which is we're going to be doing our first trimester award ceremony on June 20th. We did a small version of that for our kind of last social, where I was able to present medallions virtually, which I think is the first time we've ever done virtual medallion presentation. But we've gotten a lot of great feedback in that people were able to participate that wouldn't otherwise have been able to. And whether that means that they now will be able to come to conference because they see all the great things that happen at our conference, or if it's that when we actually are able to physically meet in person, we look at how many of these things we can still keep some type of virtual component to, so that our members that aren't able to physically make it to conference can still feel part of the conference experience.
Right. And you also don't have anybody stealing your stuff if it's virtual.
We also didn't have anybody steal anything. Yes, that was another bonus.
I will also say that Emily knocked like 6 feet away in the background. So she's also here. And yeah, so you don't have anybody stealing things. So President Gwen, you have actually, you and Sarah have a super close bond, I've heard, and which I love, because I do think that the presidential bond between is something that is, there's just something about the presidential bonds between state presidents that can never be replaced, and it's going to carry on throughout the years. I know that very well from my state president year, even my chapter president year. So, but y'all have been in a lot of communication about running these conventions virtually, and so what are your ideas or plans for your convention?
So I am super excited about our convention, and it's coming up not this weekend but next weekend. And we have competitions on Friday night, and then we're going to have a presentation from the JCI Minnesota executive team. So my whole team is going to do a murder mystery, which we've learned from JCI USA on that Friday night. So that's going to be really fun. We're really excited. We've been working through that. And then Saturday, we're going to have a whole day of trainings. And trainings we really wanted to focus on empowering our members through this time and what that looks like and into the future. So we've really focused on those key areas. And then after the trainings, we will have awards on Saturday night as well. So Sarah has been great. I think one thing I've learned through this whole thing is that you don't have to do it alone, that we are all in this together and we are all learning together. So it's been great to be in contact with her and Pat from Illinois and Hannah from Tennessee, and really able to understand what we're all doing here together and trying to continue to accomplish our mission in new and different ways, because the mission hasn't changed. The mission is the same. The methods that we're getting there are different, and they have to be different during this time. And so I found that if we, in our planning process, focused on our mission and then kind of let the methods follow the mission. It was kind of a easier way to accomplish what we want to do and what I think will be a successful event. We'll see if it is or not, but what I think will be successful. Because sometimes we like to focus more on the method. Like, it's great when we can get together and it's great when we can do all these great things, and that does accomplish our mission. But when we can't, the mission still stays the same. So that's kind of what we're working on.
And kind of to tie into that, I think Gwen brings up a very good point. Is one thing that I've seen, whether it be on the state level, on the chapter level, is JCI USA is working together to share what's working and what doesn't. I have not encountered a single person who said, well, I'm not going to share with you how we did it or where things went wrong. Every single person who has been like, oh, I hear you're going to try and do this. We tried to do this. This is what worked. This is what didn't. And, instead of having all the states and all the chapters try and recreate the virtual wheel, people and chapters and members have been sharing, and states have been sharing with each other how to make it work so that everybody can be successful.
I completely agree. And I really do think, as you guys have stated, you're talking together and you've even talked to other people, but even tomorrow, like, the virtual events, they're a big deal, and it's a huge production. It's not easy, and it is a learning process. That's why we're doing Leadership Live virtually tonight and on a new platform. And so, but like, even Ross tomorrow night, he'll actually be helping us do all of this, but from Indiana. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of help that you can have with virtual stuff that you normally wouldn't have, because you do have so much more help or access to help that maybe can't come. The same way with touching your membership. As you were saying, the families, they may not can come, they can't take off work. I noticed y'all had a whole lot in Michigan, and I attended Illinois' conventions, their virtual GA and all, and it was a lot of people there too. And, I've been to both Michigan's and Illinois GA. There was a lot of people there too, but there was still, I feel like, more, or not necessarily more, but different people, not the same people that are always there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would completely agree with that. So in Michigan, we kind of ran some data analytics, because I'm a data nerd, on how many different people over the course of all of our events, how many people showed up, how many people showed up multiple times, compared that to how many people do we have normally showing up to our regular conferences. And we did. We had, though at no point did we have 200 people on a virtual event. Over the course of the time, we actually engaged more members over the spread out time than we do in one weekend. So I think we absolutely showed that, though we all want to be able to be in the same place at the same time, that didn't stop us from still being able to connect with our members, activate and engage our members, and make them feel like they're still part of this organization, even if we can't physically be together.
Right.
And I'd also say that I think our chapters have come up with some really creative ways to keep engaging their local members. I mean, some of these chapters came right out of the gate. Like, there's one chapter in Michigan that the Kalamazoo JCs, or JCI Kalamazoo, who I literally think had their first virtual event scheduled within 24 hours of the governor giving the stay home, stay safe order. Like, chapters are also taking this opportunity to come up with new and creative ways to connect with their members, to make sure their members are feeling that they have someone to talk to. A lot of our younger members live by themselves or just live with a roommate or an apartment mate. And especially during the first days of stay home, stay safe, that was the only interaction they had was a virtual. And just to know that there's somebody that they could connect with virtually through a Zoom meeting or a Facebook chat or something like that, I think really helped from a mental health perspective with our membership as well.
And I would also have to say that, again, kind of speaking with the collaboration, I have to give it to President Sarah. As soon as her convention went virtual, she called me up and said, hey, our convention is going virtual. Here's what we're doing. You're going to have to do the same. So I'm telling you this now. So in 2 weeks, you know what you're doing. And that really, it was one of the best phone calls. And that really helped us actually a lot for President Sarah to take that initiative. Because then when I went to my team and I'm like, it's going to be okay. I've been thinking about this for a while, and Michigan has done it, and they shared with us all of their stuff. And I do think it helps to empower my team as well. I have a team of vice presidents, and it's bringing out really great things in each of them, and really you get to see their gifts and their talents and their strengths more so as they're having to adapt and to innovate in this time. And so it's also empowering them in a bunch of ways. One, to learn how to do things virtually, and two, to learn different skills and different talents that maybe they haven't learned before and we haven't taught before, because this is all new to us.
Right.
And I
And
think
the other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, because I think it's the most scary part of going virtual, is your conventions are very strong in traditions. And I know I personally have not attended a Minnesota convention or conference yet. I plan to. Whether it be this year, may not get to, I'll attend the virtual one for sure, but in person, hopefully this year, if not next year. But I have attended Michigan's, and they are very rich in tradition. And just from speaking to you, I've also noticed that y'all are very alike in that matter. And it's super, y'all want to keep those traditions. So when I attended Michigan's, I noticed that they still kept those traditions, even though virtually, even when they were giving out the presidential medallions and stuff. So that's another thing that I'll kind of want to touch on.
so.
Sure. Yeah. So we counted, because coming on here, I'm like, have we ever canceled a convention? How long have we gone? And so we talked to our oldest member who's attended every single convention, and we can say it's been at least 75 conventions we know that we have not canceled one. So we know we haven't canceled or did one virtually in like 20 or 30 years. And there are these very strong traditions. One of them is our parade of chapters. So all year long, our chapters do certain things to gain points, and they turn in all of this paperwork to get these points. And then in these points, there are the top 10 and then the top 5 chapters. During a regular convention, they stand at the back, the top 5, and we announce them, and they come forward and we read a bio, and then they receive an award for being one of the top 5 chapters. We realized that we weren't going to be able to do that virtually in that way, we still wanted to recognize and celebrate these amazing chapters that are doing these amazing things and have worked really, really hard to be in this parade. And so what we had them do is we had them record videos of their chapter, and instead of us reading the bio, they're reading their bios in their video. And normally we play a song also as they walk, and so some of them have the song playing. And so we asked them to do that, and then we'll play them during the parade of chapters in order from 5 to 1. And the videos have been amazing, like just the best videos in the whole wide world. And really, it showcases their chapters. It showcases their members more. I'm so excited for everyone to see them, as I've seen them, because they're just the most amazing thing. So yeah, that was one of our deep-seated traditions that we know we didn't want to get rid of, because they've been working really hard, man. So right. That's kind of one way we're doing that.
Well, and in Michigan, we kind of realized that there are a lot of little things that we do during conference that we could still find a way to do. So for those of you who have never been to a Michigan conference, Jim Williams is our MC for, I think, every conference in the past 10 years, except for 3. And so despite the fact that Jim is in Colorado, we actually had Jim call in for our membership awards ceremony, and did our MC, and he read the list of chapters that were in attendance, and had chapters, cheer as their name was called. You mentioned the medallions. We're doing we did our JCI talks still. So we were trying to find all of those little things that you get at conference, and how could we at least make it feel somewhat like it was actually there. So, you know, I had multiple members that didn't know Jim was going to be doing the emceeing that night that messaged me and said, hearing the voice of the Michigan JCs, AKA Jim Williams, made it feel like we were actually all together. So yeah. I think finding those little traditions and finding ways that they can do them. I'm so excited to hear that you guys are going to do parade. I'm so excited to see these videos.
I'm blown away by their creativity. Like, I was thinking it was just going to be the president reading the bio. Nobody did that. So.
Well, and we did a similar thing with our JCI talks for this trimester, which normally we have the speakers come up on stage and give their 7-minute speeches about the topic that we're talking on. And, you know, it's one after another, and it's great. But for the sake of simplicity of the logistics, we had everyone pre-record their speeches and we put them all together as one long YouTube video. And it actually worked really great because we got to have people got to be a little bit more comfortable because they were at home. And we got a variety of topics and things like that. And it was really, you know, it's something that we may look at doing going forward because it's a little bit different and a better perspective.
Well, I think Michigan's went great. I'm absolutely sure that Minnesota's will go just as well. And so I will attend that one as well. And so
we have a week, so
it's gonna go.
If not, we'll learn a lot.
Even if it doesn't, it's a learning experience, and it's still the JCs. This is our safe zone.
No, so it'll be amazing. It'll be amazing.
You've got this, Gwen, and don't forget, you can always call me and be like, "Oh my gosh, and you got this. You got this."
I have a really great team. Yeah, I have a really great team. So, I would say, again, relying on others and then relying on your team is a really good. If you're going to take anything virtually, you know, finding other people who are doing it or who have even just done it in a month, and then also relying on a team of people makes it a whole lot easier and it makes it a whole lot better.
Most definitely.
So I can't really see the comments from here because I'm watching on like this teleprompter. Like, this is super fancy setup that we've got going on here. I feel like I've kind of made it, you know. I mean, even though it's just for practice, but whatever. I'm just gonna pretend like I made it tonight. But so I'm gonna read a couple of. Emily was kind enough to bring her cell phone to me, and we had Ross had asked, was Heidi gonna make it to the murder mystery?
No. It'll be a different character.
So we had a lot of hellos, and sorry that we didn't say hello when you came in, but hello. And the other comment, I see Michael Langworthy did comment on Jim Williams being the golden voice of JCI Michigan. And then we have Colleen that asked what the heck is my podium, but she knows, so. And yeah, so those were the ones that actually required questions. The rest were Hayes. But okay, so I am going to end this because we only had a 1-hour time limit. I want to give you ample time to answer. But as I have been doing the 100th year anniversary, I have been collecting 100 stories from awesome JC members on their YIJC and their JC story. So we'll start with President Sarah, if you don't mind sharing your YUJC story with us.
So the reason I joined the JCs 13 years ago was I had been a member of a community service organization in college, had graduated college, and was getting a bit too old to be hanging out with the college kids. And so I was looking for a way to continue giving back to my community. And so I had actually a fraternity brother who was the JC who said, you should come check out the Westland JCs. And that's why I originally joined. However, the reason I stayed and the reason why I'm still a JC to this day is slightly different. And I tell people it's because of the people. And that's more than just the social aspect. So the fact that at my first national convention in 2009, I was a debate competitor for representing the state of Michigan, and I met another competitor from the state of New York, Mark Napkowski, and we became friends. And conference ended, we all go home, and a few months later, my husband and I were driving home from New Hampshire back to Michigan, and we were driving across the state of New York in winter, which any of you who are from the Northeast know that what happens as you cross New York on the New York Thruway in winter, especially as you get close to Buffalo, is a lot of snow. And so I had jokingly posted on Facebook that I hoped that the semi truck I was following knew its way back to the expressway. Otherwise, I was going to be lost in New York forever. And after that comment, Mark actually Facebook messaged me and said, I know where you're at. I have JC's near where you are. If you're not back on the expressway in a half an hour, call me. We'll put you up for the night and you'll to be back on the road in the morning. And at that moment, I realized that JCI was more than just the people I had met directly. It was a network and a community of people who wanted to help. And luckily, we were back on the expressway. But had that not happened, I would have had no hesitation calling Mark and saying, hey, who's the JCs in the area? The JCs I've met throughout this organization, internationally, across the US, across the state, that all want the same thing. We want to make our communities a better place. We want to help each other become better at our professional skills and our networking and all of these things. And so it's all the people, it's all the interactions with the people. It's the people in our communities that we help. It's the people we meet through this organization. It's the people who mentor us and that we get the opportunity to mentor after. That really is the reason why I JC.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. And President Gwen.
So I would have to say there are a bunch of reasons why I JC. I always think it's funny when someone's like, what is one reason? I'm like, no, there's so many.
Yeah.
But I guess I could start too. When I joined, I had come back home to Minnesota from living in Omaha, Nebraska. And I had come back and connected with some high school friends in the area. And one of the high school friends had me over for lunch and gave me a spiel and then asked me if I'd like to join. And I said yes, and I gave her my money, and I really did it to connect and to have a bigger relationship with my community, as well as mostly kind of a social means for me. Then I found out it was like this whole lot more that you get more than like there's so many things. There is that connection piece, and I feel like for me during this time of COVID, that connection and that relationship piece has actually gotten 100% stronger. I've been able to focus more on my relationships and meeting new people and connecting with them. And I didn't think it was possible for me to be in more group messages than I was at the beginning of this, but now I'm like in 80.
Yeah.
And that's actually really awesome. And so it's really helped me build relationships and find new ones and have this strong network of people. So one would be that network, which is why I joined and had continued to get stronger. I was just looking for like 5 people in my community to be friends with, and I've gotten like 100 people across the world, you know. So I would say that was one. Second is definitely that making an impact and making my kind of my life count and helping my community and my area. And so I know my mayor now, like I know his wife, I've had dinner at his house, like I know mayors of other communities, like I know city officials, I know all of that. Because of the JCs, I have been on a board of a local nonprofit in my community called Neighbors Incorporated, which helps people in crisis in my area. And that opportunity would never have come to me, but I was involved from a JC's, and a JCI alumni was like, we need a JC on this board. And they came to our chapter, and I was the one that was able to do it. So I've been able to help out my community and be on this board and meet more professional people and more people who want to make a difference in the world. So I think the first reason is connection. Second reason is community. And I think the third reason would be fun. Man, we are a lot of fun.
You really are.
We like people are like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, IJC. Like it is my new recent fun thing is Uno on Saturday nights with JCI USA.
Not a fan, no, like y'all cheat. Y'all cheat.
I do not cheat, but I am a savage player. If you don't say Uno, you have to pick up another card. Like
I
that's
mean,
just, I don't care if you're the nicest person in the room.
I've heard them talk about Gwen very negatively. Mama Bear comes out in me a little bit. So I don't know if I need to be on Uno right now that Gwen has joined. So
Yeah,
I
no,
immediately go into like, don't talk about Gwen.
don't
But,
talk, it's all in fun.
I know
It's all in
it
fun.
is. They really do have a good time. My schedule, because I have Mississippi opened up several weeks prior to everybody else opening up. So I've actually been back at work for a couple of weeks now, well, almost a month. And so yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
it
I
is.
guess I have a fourth one that I didn't realize, which, sorry, again, I can't just pick one, which is kind of the business. I as many of you probably see, as you continue on your JCI career and build skills, you also continue on in like your work world and build skills, and you are able to transfer those back and forth. And I would say that this has really helped me grow in that way. And then it's also helped me experience things that I would never have experienced before, and really step out of a comfort zone that I would never have thought of. So, it's I actually, even though I live in Minnesota, there's different parts of Minnesota. I've never gone ice fishing before. And so a lot of our chapters here do ice fishing events, and so I've been able to attend a couple of those. So that was interesting. I got to learn
there, right?
Yeah, in spirit. You were there in my heart.
I was there.
Miranda, digitally, virtually attending events before it was cool.
Yeah, you were.
I photoshopped myself all over the place. So.
Yeah, that was the Brainerd ice fishing extravaganza. It's amazing. That one's amazing.
If I could get flyer miles for all my Photoshop trips.
But yeah, that I've learned things like water ball and going to different concerts, and like, yeah, it's been quite a trip. So I think getting outside of that comfort zone, and every time I have a fear and I'm like, no, there's no way I'm ever going to do that, I'm afraid of that, somehow it shows up. I was like, oh, all right, I guess I thought I was afraid of heights, but I'm not anymore.
So since Gwen gets to add to hers, can I add to mine?
Yeah,
there's
cool.
another one I forgot about. The other thing is the amount of travel that I get to do through JCI. So places both in my state, in my region, in the US, and even internationally that I never would have gotten to go had it not been for JCI having something going on there or having members there. And the connections that happen because of JCI that create situations that are not necessarily JCI visits. But for example, I was in Toronto for 2 weeks last March and happened to mention to the national president at the time, Crispin, that I was going to be in the greater Toronto area for 2 weeks. Was there anything going on? And in addition to telling me about 2 chapter GMMs, he also mentioned, by the way, I'm going to meet up with the national president for JCI France because she's flying in for work. Do you want to join us? And so that was I was in Toronto for work, but I got to meet the national president from JCI France and attend a GMM of a chapter in Canada because I knew JCs and happened to be somewhere outside of my home area. So I've gotten to go lots of cool places.
Travel is definitely a big perk for me as well. 3 months of sitting in my house was torture. So it was a nice sign to see when I hit Tennessee.
Yeah, and then the other thing is the ability to have people tell you things and skills that you possess that you don't see. So that's one thing that JCI has been very, very good to me about, is having members and associates and senators and people like that kind of see something in you that you may not see, that allows you to then develop that, and hopefully you can pay it forward by returning the favor to somebody else and seeing something that you see in them and helping them develop it. Because I think many times we sometimes are blind to some of our skills and attributes because they're not kind of at the forefront of our personality, and having someone from an outside perspective that can tell you something like that in a safe way that you don't feel like you're being called out or anything like that, I think is really great.
Right.
Yes, I have a story on that. So in my family, we just don't drink beer. We're not beer drinkers. And so one of my first events, I went up to Detroit Lakes to pour beer. And I kept telling them that we needed Miller's Light. Like I needed a Miller's Light. And finally one of our nice veteran members goes, "Gwen, did you know it's not a Miller's Light? It's just Miller Light?" And I was like, "What?" No, I didn't know that. So then she had to get out the can and she showed me. And so just so you know, I learned here that it's Miller Light, not Miller's Light. So and to this day she calls me Gwen's.
That's a Midwest thing. We pluralize everything. So
I thought the light belonged to Miller's. Like that was my whole like
What about the bud? Was it Bud's Light?
Buzz? No, for some reason I just thought it was Miller's. And I don't know how I got that in my head, but like that's just what I think she finally told me because it grew her crazy for like the hour and a half before she told me. And I was like, no, I had no clue. Like you were so nice and polite to put up with me all this time. So, but it's yeah. I mean, there are serious skills that I've made here too. Like I said at the beginning, there's just not one reason. I can't pick one reason IJC. There's so many that have that is the reason why I'm like, yes, take my money. This is more than worth whatever I put into it. And just having people to say, hey, Gwen, we believe in you. We believe that you can go great places. We believe you can do anything. I know I wouldn't be in a state president's position if people hadn't at the beginning even said, hey, we believe in you. Do you know you could probably be state president one day?
Yeah.
You know, and so I think having people believe in you is a definite take my money. I love this organization.
Right. Would you have anything else to add?
Well, I just want to thank you for giving us this opportunity. It's been great to talk to all of you guys about my favorite thing, which is my favorite pastime, which is JCI, with two of my good friends. So that's been great. And the one thing I would suggest is that members continue to connect with other members outside of their communities, their states, because we've seen a lot of cross-state participation in some of these virtual events, and even cross-country, across the world participation. And this is kind of one of those, lightning in a bottle situations. Yeah, it's not the best reason why we're in this, but there's not very many opportunities that you're going to be able to attend events in other states and other countries from the comfort of your own home without having to pay money to travel. So I would say as long as these are going on, continue to take advantage of them, and you're going to meet a lot of great people from across this organization.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, ladies. I'm so happy that y'all got to have this conversation with me tonight and to JCI USA. And so y'all be safe this weekend. Have a good weekend and tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. We will go live on Facebook for our 2019 awards right here, but you'll have all the 2019 team here and I'll be somewhere else. I'll be upstairs.
Thank you so much for having us.
Bye, y'all. See you next week.